I was reading from the Marfuza, Hazrat Muslim has said, जिसने मेरी तकसीब की उसने रसूलुल्लाह की तकसीब की, जिसने रसूलुल्लाह की तकसीब की उसने कुरान मजीद की तकसीब की. And then there are similar verses in the Holy Quran. وَإِذْ قَالَ عِيسَى ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ يَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُم مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيَّ مِنَ التَّوْرَاةِ وَمُبَشِّرٌ بِرَسُولٍ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ اسمه أحمد فلما جاءهم بالبينات قالوا هذا سحر مبين. In this one, sir, I want to know this ismu Ahmad. Is it Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa or Hazrat Brahman Messiah?
What relation does it have?
Well, this is linked with this. I have 3-4 parts of the question.
I have explained it many times before that initially it is Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam who is mentioned as Ahmad because he has two main attributes, one Muhammad and the other Ahmad. They are attributive names, names carrying attributions and descriptions of his character. So when he was to come again, as in the very next surah, Surah Jummah, it is depicted. You know, this is the beautiful arrangement of the Holy Quran. In Surah Saf, Ahmad is mentioned. And in Surah Jummah it is said that when he comes again, reappears, هُوَ الَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رُسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَإِنْ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. The same Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will be raised among those who have not yet met these earlier ones, those of the latter days who have not yet met the earlier ones. So that shows he is to come again. In what capacity? After Moses, Jesus came in the latter days of the Judaism. So when he says Ahmad, that Ahmad would appear again in the form of a servant who would be completely subordinate to him and who would lose his own identity, having lost completely his identity into Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam out of obedience and out of love. So he will be given the name Ahmad. So that second application is only an inference we draw from the verses of the Holy Quran and from the tradition of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says Hazrat Masih would appear or Mahdi would appear in the latter days. So the first initial application of the word Ahmad that should not be forgotten by Ahmadis is in the form of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam's appearance. And the second application is in shadow of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would be represented in the latter days appearance by Ahmad, and that shows that that manifestation would have a softness to it. It would have an element of love, an element of kindness, and not that grandeur which is carried by the word Muhammad. Muhammad has a grandeur, an awe-inspiring quality which wins by force as well. It gets established through a decree of Allah within a matter of, everybody's sight. So that manifestation which carries the word Jalal, the sense of Jalal as we call it in Urdu, an awe-inspiring overwhelming quality to it. That could not be manifested in the second time. When Masih's, that is Hazrat Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, prediction is fulfilled, that will be fulfilled in the form of Ahmad. So this is the connected thread. But some Ahmadis, by mistake, insist that initially Hazrat Masih Maud is mentioned. And they make this mistake because in this verse, the second advent of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa in the form of Ahmad is immediately described after this prediction. In the verse, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ يُفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا وَهُوَ يُدْعَى إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ. Hazrat Masih Maud has written on this in detail by describing this verse to be applicable only to the second manifestation of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa in the form of Ahmad. That is correct. From this verse, the first appearance of Ahmad cannot be inferred, because it was not he who was called towards Islam. It was Hazrat Masih who was called towards Islam. So Hazrat Masih has inferred that from in this amal there is also hidden the reappearance of Ahmad in the form of someone who would be subordinate to him. So this causes confusion, and people think that it is only Hazrat Masih which is mentioned in this verse. It is not true. Ahmad is mentioned initially, and by way of implication, Hazrat Masih is also mentioned, and to prove that he is mentioned as well, the next verse takes over and describes a situation which is applicable only to the second advent of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa. And that again in a very strange form. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ يُفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا وَهُوَ يُدْعَى إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ. If somebody is fabricating things on his own and attributing falsehood to Allah while he has not appointed him, then such a person would be the greatest transgressor on earth. Wallahu la yahdi al-zalimin. And despite the fact that he is being called towards Islam and he does not listen, such a person is the greatest transgressor. Wallahu la yahdi al-zalimin. The exact verse is la yahdi al-zalimin. And Allah does not lead to the right path, or does not, the exact words are Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Aslamu liman iftara ala Allah wa yuda ila al-islam wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. And Allah does not lead to the right path the people who are transgressors. So here it is shown that if such a person is a liar, then he is the greatest liar who fabricates things and attributes them to Allah. Such a person can never succeed. So there could be many who would claim to be that one, but the one who succeeds, that is positively the true one, and you cannot call him a liar, because in the eyes of Allah, the transgressors never succeed. La yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. So this is why qawm al-zalimin is mentioned in plural. This is the tradition of Allah. You can look back at history and find that everyone met a bad end when he started fabricating things to Allah. So how can a person who fabricates, attributes wrongly, fake things to Allah, and also at the same time is being warned by everybody that you should come and join Islam. This is Islam, not that. How can it be possible that he goes scot-free? That is the essence. So in this way, it is a proof of Hazrat Masih Maud's truth. Because in his days, this is what happened. People said, you have not been revealed anything from Allah. To you, nothing has been revealed from Allah. And yet, he persisted in that claim. It was said, come and join Islam because where you are, that is not Islam. Islam is on our side. And he persistently stuck to his claim and said, no, this is Islam and you come to me and I have been told things by Allah. So if he were a wrong man, if he were a liar, if he were a fabricator, then it was impossible for Allah to let him flourish. This is the argument. You understand?
Yes.
So that shows that this is a point of second manifestation of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, not the first one. In this verse, previously Hazur is mentioned initially, but because of this argument of Hazrat Masih Maud Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, some Ahmadis got confused. They thought that in the first instance, the mention of Ahmad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is negated. That is wrong. It's not true. Initially, he is the one who is mentioned. And in him, within him, a prophecy about the future is made. And the character of that prophecy is made manifestly clear in the following verse. This is the situation as I understand it.
We should mention this in our tabligh. These verses are good.
You should, if you have no control over the manipulation of this verse, don't mention it. Because it's not a must. Even without mentioning it, you have so many verses over which you have a better control. And that is also a point which must be made very clear. Sometimes a questioner is interested in one small part of the question, and I know that he wants a short answer and that will suffice. But I intentionally enlarge the answer and carry it to a field which was originally not in the mind of the questioner, because I want to lay stress upon something else, which is in my opinion more important for the community to know. This is why, despite the fact that you did not ask this question as I have answered, I wanted this to be answered like this, because it is more important for me that the Ahmadiyya community knows what has been said by Hazrat Masih Maud and should not convey it in any erroneous manner. If they do it, they will be caught in some snare. Now here again, although the question is different, I must make it very clear that those who preach should always bear in this mind that it is not within the capability of every wielder of soul to use every type of soul. Every wielder of weapon cannot wield every weapon successfully and with a mastery. If you use a weapon which is very deadly, but you don't know how to use it, it may even be used against you. So when Hazrat Masih Maud mentions 30 verses whereby the death of Hazrat Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, can be proved, it is not within the power of every Ahmadi to use the 30 verses to that effect. He should pick and choose only those ones over which he can have mastery quickly and soon and in a better manner, with a better control. Otherwise, I have seen people, when they use these verses, they sometimes fail. It is like the Egyptians in the 56th war, when they were given missiles by the Russians. And they were highly sophisticated weapons. Unfortunately for them, they had not yet learned the art of using those missiles. The result was they were captured intact, and in the next war they were used against them, or perhaps in the same war. So you cannot say the weapon was wrong. The correct inference is that every weapon cannot be effectively used by every user of the weapon. So this is a lesson which should be drawn from these things and applied to the war of spiritual debates, religious debates. So this is one of the difficult verses which you have pointed out. And I have seen many, and the scholars falter on this. It is not necessary that you prove the truth of Hazrat Masih with this verse. If you do not have the complete mastery over it, you will make mistakes and give the opponent an occasion to utilize your missteps, your mistakes, and make it appear as if you have got defeated. I don't say nobody should. I mean only those you should use this verse who have a full control over this, who know the ins and outs, the points of which the enemies generally raise, and who are capable of defending themselves effectively. Right?
On the same verse, it's about it's customary in Eastern countries, especially our well, our question.
It's done. They have an agreement with you that you ask only 3 questions.